Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
I feel sorry for the fans, man. I just really do. Man, you know, y'all came out, you know, I was doing the pregame, and y'all come out every single week, and y'all come out and root for this team, and y'all come out and y'all give everything y'all can, and you know, they come out here and they find a different way to embarrass you every week. They found a different way to stick the dagger in your back every week.
Just an update on the game. It looks like the Chargers are going to punt the ball. The Browns will have
no. The Chargers went for it on 4th and 2 inside their own 50 and did not get it. The Browns have the ball inside the 50 with about a minute to go and no timeouts.
Are you trying to kill me? This is crazy. Oh my gosh.
What is going on with the NFL? How drunk is this league right now?
It's 106 and they have the rock.
He missed it.
He missed it?
He missed it.
Oh my God.
How far was it?
He missed it. 53 yards. He missed.
Oh my God.
Invested. Mikey McNuggets, when I walked in, I said, Mikey, now you know what we've been going through because he's the only non-Clevelander in this group. And I think you took it harder than everybody. We're used to that, bro.
Man.
I just, the way.
If he would have made it, we would have been like, oh my God, he made it.
The way the last 2 minutes unfolded, pure insanity. And to get the roller coaster ride to be at the peak and think you're about to like take off to the moon, only to be dropped off like the Tower of Terror in Disney World.
Yeah.
It hurt.
Yeah, that was G. Bush, my man. I think you need some counseling.
Hey, I do, man.
I was feeling your pain.
Because here's the thing, like I had a guy come in. His name is Brian Flanagan. He came from Scotland.
Oh no.
This man came from Scotland. Brought me this button up. Look at this. Just gave it to me and was like, yo, man, are we gonna get a win today? Just excited. 2 people came from Florida, drove up, and I was just feeling like, man, y'all do that to people that have spent their hard-earned time, energy, and money to come down there for nothing. For like that? I be feeling sorry for these dudes, man, because at the end of the day, I get to show up and do things, and I get to pay my bills by doing something, talking about sports. But these people is just showing up, putting their hard-earned money and hearts in their sleeve. This dude he flew from Scotland. You got fans in Scotland, man, and it's crazy that this is what happens. I mean, this dude has to be devastated, bro.
We don't even have the Scottish Hammer anymore.
No, he's just like, yo, I've been a Browns fan for 30 years. I watch the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show every single day. You know how many people? Iceland, Finland, people down in Brazil. Yeah. It's crazy.
It is nuts.
And I'm just salty that those guys didn't get no payoff, man.
Lot to unpack. A whole lot to unpack. Hey, the Guardians won.
Yeah. Yes.
Huh?
Hey.
I mean, that keeps us away from sharp objects.
Yes, it does.
So, and we will talk about that. And the starting pitching rotation is sets up perfectly. I don't think that Tito could have asked for anything more than what he has in front of him here. We're going to talk about the incredible game on Saturday. It's games like that let you know you have a heart in your chest because it was pounding like never before. What an absolute incredible pitching performance. 24 innings, and they allowed 1 run on 1 swing. I mean, and they've won 26 of their last 32. Yeah. Oftentimes, it's not the best roster. It's the hottest team. And right now, the hottest team, without question, is your Cleveland Guardians. So we're going to talk about that. Tim Couch joins us at 11:30. We'll get his thoughts on that debacle train wreck that we saw. Browns made a trade. Don't go ordering your playoff tickets just yet, but we're going to tell you what it is. We'll break it down. I think we all have some strong things to say about that, but we got to start with the absolute abject train wreck that took place about 300 yards from here at First Energy yesterday. Guys, there's always, it's always, it's never one thing. Never. But I think with this team, what is most troubling is it's so many things. Like a lot of times teams can look at the loss and say, it was one play. It was one call. It was one thing. You got the 32nd ranked offense running the ball. I think they just got another 100 yards over at first. I mean,
funny.
It's unbelievable.
That's funny.
The defense was like wet paper. Offensively, I have to say, I think offensively they hit the mark. 28 points. I know it's the Chargers, but they were averaging 17 coming in.
Yep.
28 should be enough to win. Brad, since you're sitting where Bull normally is, and Bull will be back tomorrow, right? He's in New York for a bar mitzvah over the weekend.
Since you're sitting where he's sitting,
yeah.
What we need you to do is go off. No,
yeah,
Brad.
I mean, there's so much, and I'm sure all of us have our own slants and our own takes, but Brad, you get to go first.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to parlay on this first. So I'm going to break my promise to Jason. I told Jason I wasn't going to say anything today. I was just going to see it.
And I told you I don't believe that for 1 second.
All right, so since you're right, I'm going to go in.
No, you're not going to say anything about what?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm so perturbed, right? And I think I'm symbolic of many of the people that follow this team, right? Because we live and die with this team, right? For whatever reason you do, you do. But I'm so tired of this team not ever meeting the moment. It never meets the moment. And when you said earlier that, we lose 1,000, no, we don't lose by 1,000 ways, right?
1,000 reasons.
1,000 reasons.
Yeah.
It's only because we do the same dumb stuff all the time.
So you can put dumb stuff under one reason and that.
Yeah, because
that kind of does encapsulate.
Jay, we knew we walked into this thing. We've been saying for months, your interior defensive line was trash.
Right.
You have no linebackers. If I watch JOK run outside one more time and Eckler running the Atlanta Falcons, I'm like, dude, do you even know where you're supposed to be?
No keys.
Look at this stat, by the way, speaking of the interior defensive line. I'll read it for you guys. Among the 106 qualifying interior defensive linemen, the Browns have the number 105 and 106 graded players at said.
One has got to be Togiai. One of those has to be Togiai.
Well,
I don't even know if it is because I don't think he's qualified. Togiai hasn't had that many snaps.
I don't know. He has the last couple of weeks.
Do we know which two those are?
It doesn't matter.
Because if you throw Togiai in there and he's not in there, it's 105, 106, and 107.
Jay, it doesn't matter. We're trash inside.
And we knew that.
Yeah, we're trash.
This is not a surprise
to
anybody.
You and I, we have talked about it.
Yeah, well, we've talked about it on the show all summer.
Why is it no one Berea sees that?
That's a great question, Brad. That's a great question.
So this is your first line of defense. I told you, what did I tell you, Jason? I'm just a basketball player. But your first line of defense is the guys up front.
Absolutely.
All right, so if you
and that's typically where you win, by the way, is in the trenches.
If you get past my first two, my secondary line, which is the linebackers, have to plug the gaps. Yep. I can't take JOK no more. I just can't. He is an oversized safety. That's all he is. Playing a linebacker position. Not filling not one gap, not one hole, getting shoved out the way. Listen, stop playing with me. And then now what you do in the middle of the night, we do a what? A trade in the middle of the night via Cash App or whoever app we use to find a dude with a shoulder problem.
PayPal.
Here, let me.
Not just shoulder problems. I would think, and Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, but Deion Jones you would label him as a problem child, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, that's the knock on him, and we'll get back to Brad. That's the knock on him, but you never know. It's a new coach, doesn't fit his system.
Right.
There's 100 reasons, and if you say problem child, it seems like it puts it all on him, and I don't know that's fair to him. Now, Jamie Collins was a problem child when he got here. He really was.
No, he was.
And maybe Deion Jones is
the reason I
one.
say that is because when you're making the amount of money that he's making, you have to, whatever the situation is, you have to go out there and you have to perform. You have to be a positive influence in the room. And he has not been. And by the way, he's injured. Yeah. Any indication at all when he'll be ready? He's on IR.
I think he's close.
So let me say this, right? So
we gave up nothing to get him, and it's going to cost us almost nothing in cash.
Well,
so nothing ventured, nothing gained. But I wouldn't expect. He's a great athlete. He's fast. He played at LSU, didn't he?
Yes.
He's fast. He's athletic. He's small. And maybe he's gonna help. I don't know.
I think the Browns probably came to the same conclusion we did. Sione Takitaki, Jacob Phillips ain't it.
Nope.
The
Not gonna
Anthony
do
Walker Jr. injury was huge.
Devastating.
Huge.
Devastating.
We spent so much time talking about Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney missing, and the Walker injury kind of flew under the radar.
He seems to be the
first.
heartbeat of that defense too. Now he's gone.
Let me say this because this is the silliness of this conversation.
How is it silly? They
The
lost their starting middle
silliness
linebacker.
is this from this
Depth.
standpoint, not from
Lack of
here.
depth.
If you're in
No NFL team
if
has
you're
depth.
in the game and know the game, I can walk into a gym today in 5 minutes. I can tell you who can freaking play and who can't freaking play. Right? So you have to know that these people out here can't play and do the things you need to do. So why are we sitting around here addressing nonsense? Sue is sitting out there. Dominican Sue is sitting out there. We got a hole. Fill it. You got a linebacker problem. I don't care who you... Because now I'm thinking like this. I'm driving around yesterday leaving. I'm taking my kid back to the airport. She can go back to Maryland, right? I'm saying, you know what? Kareem Hunt, how much value can you bring me out here?
If you're not going to use him, trade him.
I said, what kind of value can you? Because that's what I'm thinking at.
Sure.
I don't want you to go, but guess what?
How many times were they on the field together yesterday?
Oh my God. Here, and I won't even get to the stretch. Chubb is running crazy in the first half. He was on a milk carton in the second half.
I know he was. 14 carries for the game.
Are we freaking nuts?
Yeah.
So I go back to this.
So you're throwing it. It sounds like you're throwing it on Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski.
Well, here I'm so sick of Stefanski stuff. It's like ridiculous here because now I can't blame Jacoby Brissett. He played great.
I can.
Hold on, he played great.
Yeah, I can, and I will too.
Hold on. He played great to the stretch drive, right? And he has shown me in this thing. You take it what you want here. He is not that guy. Right?
And we knew
so
that.
when I go down the stretch, why am I putting him in a position to be that guy?
Here's the thing, though. How is Dallas 4-1 with a backup? How's that happening? You know why that's happening? Their defensive player. I watched Micah Parsons yesterday. I watched Micah Parsons
He's
become
Defensive Player of the Year.
He is the Defensive Player of the Year. And you know what? This is why I said this earlier this year. I don't want to hear Myles Garrett's name mentioned in the top defensive players anymore. And I'm sorry, Myles. I love you. I do. You're a beast. But why is it when the Cowboys game is in the balance, Micah Parsons looks like he puts on a cape and makes the play.
Wrecks the game.
Wrecks the game. And we saw that last year in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Aaron Donald, they needed a play. He absolutely willed his team to the Super Bowl. He's a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. I think T.J. Watt, before he got hurt, had that kind of presence on the game. Micah Parsons is incredible. But they talked all the junk about the number one defense. We're going to have to be a number one defense. We're going to carry this team. They let the number 32 ranked offense run for 240-some yards yesterday on them. Eckler had 10 yards of rush. That's not the number one defense, not even close. And Myles is not the Defensive Player of the Year, and he can't be in that conversation because he disappeared yesterday.
Jay, the other thing I'll tell you is this. I was convinced yesterday, 'cause I had to go out and do some landscape in my own yard. That's how mad I was, right?
I did the same thing.
I had to, right? I'm digging ditches.
It's just
planting
random.
pavers.
Just
I'm
putting
doing-
bricks in one pile and stacking them on another.
I sit here.
No, I know the feeling. Just like I got some energy and I got to kill it now.
This is what I'm saying when I'm laying this down, Jason. Oh, I'm a fool. You've been selling me a bill of goods that these dudes is good.
And we bought it.
These dudes is trash.
Played you.
You played me.
Played
And I
you.
bought it.
Yeah.
Because
Not the first time we've done
what
that.
you selling me is not this. Bro, 1, 2. It's a problem here.
The numbers bear it out. I got all this. I got all the receipts. The numbers bear it out. These guys running around here talking about we gotta figure it out. We gotta be on the same page. First of all, I don't want to hear nobody else saying that. You know what it is? Not being on the same page is a euphemism. That's something that you say to make it seem like not bad. If I go out and I spend all the money, all the rent money in the club, if I go in the strip clubs, if I'm getting liquored up, if I'm going right over there to the casino using all the rent money, and I get home and my wife say, you know what, babe, what's going on? Like, what we doing with this money? And I turn to her and say, we really not argue about no money. We just having a communication error in our finances. No, it ain't no communication error. Yo, dumbass.
What if you did that 5 months in a row? Because that's what we have. We have 5 games in a row where it's the same story. We're not on the same page. We're having communication issues. 5 games in a row. If you try that with your 5 months in a row, if you come home and say, babe, it's just a communication thing. I'm not picking up what you're picking down. You're out the door.
Yeah, half means she'll be living good in another apartment, courtesy of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
Living swell.
Leaving swell, right? She taking the car back, she getting all the, and she might put me on some alimony. She like, listen, I live good now. I can't just go back to what I was doing, and they gonna take it. The bottom line is, call it what it is. The Browns and Joe Woods don't do anything well. Nothing. It's irrefutable. They do nothing well. They don't tackle. They don't get turnovers. They don't pressure the quarterback. They don't have good pursuit angles. They don't stop the run. They don't know their assignments. They don't communicate. They do nothing well. So let me ask you a question. Why are you still playing? And if you think you're playing, let's go ahead and take a look at the trends overall. Because this is damning. They've gotten worse. When people tell you, we just got to figure out, they've gotten worse. Their overall grade on PFF, oh goodness. Overall, they start with a 66 overall, or 68. Then they got a little better, 74. Down to a 60, 68 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Down to a 60.8 overall against the Falcons. And you just jumped back up and got to 70%. But here's the problem.
Which is stunning.
That's stunning.
70%?
They got 4 defensive tackles. You're right. Togiai does have enough snaps. Togiai definitely has enough snaps. He's grading out at 29%. The highest graded defensive tackle they got is 53 in Taven Bryan. And you've known this how long, OG?
Since training camp.
This is 2 years in a row with the tackles.
It is 2 years in a row. Yeah, this isn't a problem that just cropped up.
So why is it? Tell me. You guys tell me. I mean, you guys got great opinions here. If we can see it, AJ should be down there with them.
He know him.
Why can't they see it? I can tell you now, if I was going to go scout a high school basketball player, right? I could go in the gym, and you know it's a 4-quarter game. I only have to stay for the first quarter to know who can play and who cannot play. I'll stay a little bit longer to see what you can really do, but I can tell. So you can tell me that you don't know this. So is it that you don't
this is not a surprise.
You don't want to spend
I think the surprise is how bad they've been.
Can I say this? Is it that you paid Deshaun all the money and you got no more money left to pay? What is the deal?
Are they intoxicated by big names? And let me set that up. Obviously Deshaun Watson, but Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr. produced very little here. They went out and got Jadeveon Clowney, who has made things better on the pass rush front, but they're going for the 5-star big name, put the name up in marquee, but that's not how you win. You win with supporting cast.
Say it again.
And when I look around at the supporting cast, I'm like, this is really a bad defense. We thought that they could be a top 5. There were guys saying, no, not top 5, top number 1.
Jay Feely came on this show and said he expects the Browns to have the best defense in the NFL this year prior to week 1.
Jadeveon Clowney said after the game yesterday it's the most talented defense he's been a part of on paper, which means nothing.
No, but I thought he was frank and refreshingly honest with his assessment.
Yeah.
Is maybe he's the guy. Nobody else is going to do it. Maybe he's the guy that says behind closed doors, guys, we're stealing money here. We're stealing money. We're not getting it done. The fans aren't getting what they deserve. Enough.
But JT, I'm glad you said that, because usually the person that tells in the locker room tells you that you're stealing money is somebody with some real credibility out here, right? And not that Jadeveon Clowney isn't that guy, but when I look around,
it's not Garrett.
Newsome's, the Wards, the Johnson and Dell put up in trash. They're trash back there.
John Johnson,
they're trash.
John Johnson ain't made a play since he been here. Let's keep it a buck.
Right.
He has, when you hear his grades, this guy, do you know he missed 33% of his tackles? 33%. JOK missed 50% of his tackles.
I'm just gonna go to JOK. Did you see when Eckler run inside, JOK went wide? I said, why are you wide outside?
He doesn't want any more smoke.
62.
If I don't make contact with him, I can't miss the tackle.
62%.
I said, oh my God.
Run defense. Run defense are great. 62%.
It irritated the color analyst yesterday. He's watching this during the game. He's like, this is awful.
Jason, you've been awfully quiet, so let's hear you unpack what you've got here. Because I know and I'm more in line with you. I know where you're going.
Yeah.
I'll let you take us there.
You guys have hammered the defense, and rightfully so. Like, there's no retort. They've been awful. They've been terrible defensively. Too many missed tackles, too many busted coverages, too many leaks in the secondary. They seem to got those plugged up, and now the front seven's letting them down, and they're getting gashed in the front. I agree with all of that. You want to fire Joe Woods, go ahead and fire Joe Woods.
Yep.
But I don't know what that's going to solve. And I don't say that sarcastically. This is what you got. Like, who on the staff is going to come in and rectify this and clean this up and fix it? It's a scapegoat. If you fire Joe, it's just a scapegoat. Which,
and it keeps that revolving door mentality
and
going.
And I will remind you, this defense played really well over the second half of last season. Where did they all go?
There were cries for Joe Woods to be fired in the first half of last year.
The Patriots game was they got their pants pulled down.
I thought that was it for Joe Woods. I literally, at the end of that game, I said, well,
I did too.
We're going to fix something because that guy's gone.
I did too. And then they turned it around like that.
They fixed
They were a much different defense. These same guys, all these guys were much different and played much better the second half of the season. Now, you can't keep wasting a half of a season on terrible football play. You can't.
No.
But I just don't know what firing Joe Woods truly solves. If we're looking for solutions, what does that solve? The thing that I keep going back to, we knew this was going to happen. We knew, maybe not the particulars of how this is going to play out. As soon as Deshaun Watson was suspended for 11 games, it altered the course of the season. And Jacoby Brissett, God love him, when they decided to ride and die with Jacoby for 11 games, we knew there was going to be a lot of deaths. And in all three of the losses, and gotta have it moments, he doesn't have it. The Jets game interception, I don't want to put that on him. He never should have been in that position. No. That was a total team collapse and failure by the defense and special teams.
But he still threw the interception. And they were in position.
And he still threw the pick.
There's no question.
Atlanta, they were close to field goal range. He takes a bad sack. He forces a terrible throw.
No question.
Has a terrible interception.
Yep.
This is Baker all over again, guys.
It's Baker Brissett.
Oh, he's got great numbers. Oh, the offense looks good.
No.
Oh, we scored 28 points. When you got to have it from your quarterback, he doesn't have it. And I'm not trying to I heard Brian Hartline say something really poignant about coaching players one day. And he's like, you can only ask them
to do what they're capable of doing.
Yes. Yeah. You can only ask them to do what they're capable of doing. Yep. Jacoby Brissett is not capable of Deshaun Watson type things, of Tom Brady type things.
Nobody's saying that.
So this is the situation.
But the throw yesterday, if the ball wasn't picked where it was,
it would have been picked by
the other back that was all over Amari Cooper.
Worst decision of the season.
They're in range.
There's no question. You see there's a flaw in Jacoby Brissett. His thinking when the pressure is on is not where it should be.
He's doing what we were told he would not do.
Exactly, you're right.
Turn the ball over.
Because everybody keeps saying, guys, this is what we expected. What we expected was a guy that could manage the game and that would not. This is what we heard all the time. He does not turn the ball over. He takes care of the ball. He doesn't try to make throws he's not capable of making.
And he has managed the game until to the final moments of the game.
Brad,
let me just say this.
There's a problem with that. It's the pitcher that throws a shutout for 8 innings. He walks a guy to lead off the 9th and then gives up a solo home run. Other than that, he was spectacular.
No. So let me ask you this, because this is where I go back to. I'm not letting Jacoby Brissett off the hook by any means, right? I'm gonna give you just three letters, and you tell me what it means. KYP. It means know your personnel.
Yeah.
Every coach, every manager knows that freaking rule. Know your personnel. So if I know that this kid has a tendency to self-destruct down the stretch.
But he hasn't. He hasn't been that guy until he's been with Stefanski.
No, those 3 games here, right?
Listen, but what we're saying is his body of work heretofore was he wasn't that guy. I honestly think that's why they got him. Somehow we've turned him into Baker Mayfield.
So the other thing I tell you this, let me go back to this. Y'all my guys, you know you my guy. Where the hell is Chubb at? What is the problem?
He's on a pitch count. He got 14 yesterday.
What is the problem
Your
here?
best player is going to get 3 carries a quarter.
It's
dumb.
Hey, listen.
Done with
listen,
that.
Here's the thing.
Done with it.
If you're not going, just trade him, bro. I be feeling sorry for the dude, bro. Like, if you're not going to use him right, if he's looking around, now Chubb don't say much.
We're wasting his best years, guys.
Chubb don't say, like, this is the same thing.
He was rolling.
He's going to be Barry Sanders.
He's on the sideline, he's looking around like, man, I didn't put this team on my back, man. If you're not going to use him right, trade him to somebody that's going to use him right. Trade him and Hunt, and just do what you want to do.
I'm texting Tyvis. Why are you on this post-game show? Doing a commercial. I'm texting Tyvis. I said, Tyvis, answer me this question. Down the stretch, when we knew we just need a field goal, right? Because we knew we weren't going for a touchdown. We just need a field goal.
Right.
So I'm looking at the distance. I said, we need about 7-8 more yards to give us some comfort here, right? I said, Tyvis, why did we run Chubb 3 times, 2 times?
They were out of timeouts at that point.
You got a minute left and you're out of timeouts.
Yeah,
you run the ball, it takes 20 seconds.
Here.
You can't run the ball in that situation.
Let me tell you what Tyvis said, Jason, since you're telling me, right? Tyvis said we could have run the ball twice and spiked the ball and got that crew ready to go. You practice it during the week.
So in theory, can you run the ball in that situation? You can.
They ran it. They got no yards, and it took 21 seconds.
That's exactly right. Because I went back and looked too. I did the exact same thing.
Hold on, Jay. You ran Hunt. The top dog sitting on the sideline.
Well,
everyone's telling me there's no difference in Hunt and Chubb.
What?
This stat is
what?
But
that's what all you guys say every week.
Hey,
Hunt's terrific.
I still want Chubb in the game.
Two things
do too.
real
I need
quick.
him on
This
the
is
field.
Important. Matt Rule just got fired.
Yeah.
Wow.
Officially out.
No kidding.
Carolina.
Surprising.
And no one would know the clock management in that situation better than Tim Couch, who's ready to hop in here and let us know. Tim, can you run the ball with 50 seconds in that situation, or is it too risky a situation with the clock and no timeouts?
I mean, it's tough. I think you're getting down to where you got to operate very efficiently if you're going to run the ball, and you got to hope you're going to get some yards, because if you get stopped for 0, then it's going to be your offense is going to be backed up. So I don't mind throwing the ball right there. You just got to get some completions, get the ball out of your hand quickly, and they just didn't execute it very well down the stretch, like they haven't done the last 3 weeks when it's crunch time.
Tim, 17 carries for Nick Chubb. There were moments that were huge in this football game. He's on the sidelines. Is there any defense of the way they've used their best player on the team?
I don't think so. You wonder where he's at. Like you guys just said, like you watch this guy the whole game, and he's literally carried the team and got you in the position that you're in. I mean, he's averaging almost 8 yards a carry, right? He's hot. He's probably the best back in the league right now. I don't know why they put him on the sideline towards the end of games when he has been your workhorse for the entire game and got you in position to win. It's frustrating. It's definitely frustrating to see him standing over there when you just want the ball in his hand. Get him out on the field. I don't care if you throw it to him or hand it to him, but a guy like that has to be on the field, man. He's your best player. Your best players need to be on the field and trying to get the ball into their hand, especially in crunch time situations like that.
Tim, I was going to bring up this stat, which is kind of alarming to me. Jacoby Brissett, he can't throw that football, especially down there. That was unexcusable. I don't know what he's doing. He got to be better than that. But if you extrapolate these stats out over the rest of the season, even with Jacoby Brissett, if he played a whole year, you end up with David Njoku with 90 catches, about 900-plus yards. You extrapolate it out. Amari Cooper would have over 1,000 yards, right? And Nick Chubb, if he stays on this pace, would get 2,000 yards. So it's hard for me, because I was on Jason. I said it last week. He said no, but he is getting the ball. And I had to go back and look at it and be like, you know what? He's on pace for 2,000. My thing is, if your back is getting 2,000 with a backup quarterback, then to me, you have to go somewhere else to find out where it's at. And to me, it's the defense. I just don't believe that should have been the game that they played, given what Nick Chubb was doing, even what Jacoby Brissett did. That is enough to win the game. But I don't understand what's going on with the defense. You let me know, Tim. Is it the coaching, or are these guys just not that good?
Well, I totally agree with you. I think, Jacoby Brissett is playing winning football. He's playing really good until crunch time. His 3 interceptions have all been when the game's on the line, when they just needed a field goal to either win or tie. So, you shouldn't be in that position anyway. He's playing well enough to where the defense should go out and stop people. Yesterday, the Chargers were they the worst running team in the entire league? And then
30 seconds.
And Eckler goes off for 100, averaged almost 11 yards a carry, man. So for what I see is guys taking wrong pursuit angles in the run game, guys coming down, getting out of position, missed tackles. I don't see that necessarily as coaching. I see that as players just getting out of position, man. And you got to take more pride in what you're doing out there, especially defensively. All guys running to the football, taking the right pursuit angles. And right now, you just don't see the effort. You just don't see guys taking pride in their craft and doing the right things and being in the right positions and those kind of things. And, it doesn't take much. You get out of position a little bit, especially against a back like Eckler. And you saw him go down the sideline for a 70-yard run and breaking off all kinds of big runs. So, it is the defense right now. They're letting us down. At the end of the game, I can't believe the Chargers went for it on that 4th down, but they did get a big-time stop right there. I thought the Chargers were just handing us the game.
They gave the game.
They did.
And we go down and give it right back to them. So that was the most frustrating part for sure.
We say, no, you can have it. No thanks.
No, we don't want it.
Exactly.
You take it.
Tim, when you're talking about defense and guys taking the wrong pursuit angles and missed tackling, I totally agree. Missed tackling is not coaching. That's just not performance. So what is the role of the defensive coordinator? What's Joe Woods' role in this in terms of setting them up for success? What is or isn't happening with him? What do you put on him? If that goes on the players, what part of it goes on him?
That's a tough call. I'm not sure exactly. I'm not, in those meetings, and I don't know what he's expecting from these guys and things. But, I think to get that fixed, to get guys to play play the right way, take the right pursuit angles, call them out in meetings in front of everyone. That motivates guys more than anything. Show them, hey, in front of the whole team in a meeting room, pull up their play. Hey, what are you doing? Look at this pursuit angle right here. How are you going to do that? This is the NFL. You're a starting safety in the NFL. You're coming down, taking an angle like that. Call guys out, and they're going to start taking pride in what they do. If not, then you just have to replace them. So, that would be my strategy. If I was defensive coordinators, I would call guys out in front of everybody, show the missed tackles, show these plays that are causing them to be in these situations. And, hopefully guys will go out and take a little pride and get it fixed.
So everybody in Cleveland wants Joe Woods fired. I think that's the consensus. People want him gone.
Peace, homie.
Especially Garrett. But my thing is, what does that solve? What does that truly solve? Who else on staff? It sounds like a scapegoat to me, because who else on staff is going to come in and fix that? We're in the middle of the season. So what happens in a building when a coordinator gets fired? Is it just to send a message? Is there any results or solutions that can come of that? Or is that just simply just to try and get guys' attention and shake things up?
It may be a lot of just trying to get guys' attention. I don't know what it solves, especially at this point. Like we said, I see it more on the players making mistakes. I think it's, we've seen communication issues in the secondary. I don't put that on the coach. The players are out there. They know the situation. They know the system. They have to know whether they're in cover 2 or cover 3. You're paying these guys a lot of money to talk out there and communicate and be in the right position and at least get lined up right, take the right pursuit angles. Be a good tackler. Those are basic fundamentals that you shouldn't have to worry about at this level in the NFL. And these guys are doing it week in and week out, making these same mistakes over and over, man. So, for me, I think that's a player issue. I know that everyone likes to blame the D coordinator and things like that, but for me, I just think the players need to step up and have a little bit more pride on the defensive end and start doing their job a little more efficiently.
Hey Tim, I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm a firm believer in you. If you go back to Pee Wee football, Pee Wee basketball, the coach has got to assume the responsibility of putting people on notice. Now I listen to Stefanski's post-game press conference, right? And his thing is the softest thing I've ever heard. Oh, we gotta do better.
It's a recorded message.
We gotta get together. If we get together, it's on me and the play. No.
Yeah.
Jacoby, you suck. Can't do that. You got to put people on blast. You got to make them go home and think about it. You got to go home and try to make them cry. Scared to go to the grocery store, right?
Things we'll never see for 1,000 will be Stefanski saying, Jacoby, you suck.
You notice, if you never call a player out, he going to automatically assume that he wasn't the person. You know that's how it worked. It wasn't me. They didn't see the mistake I made. It wasn't me. They didn't call me out. You have to put people, because right now, I'm a firm believer in this, Tim. I want your opinion on this. Teams take on the personality of their coaches. They do. Yeah. They do.
We're seeing that.
So if you come across soft and laissez-faire, then I'm going to be a laissez-faire player. But if you're a person that keep heat on me all the time, I'm going to react because I don't want the smoke.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. You know, the last thing guys want is to be called out in front of their peers. And that's embarrassing, man. You know, I played for Bruce Arians. You know, he was my offensive coordinator in Cleveland. Bruce would call you out in front of the meeting room, man. He didn't care who it was, whether it was a quarterback, receiver, a lineman. He didn't care who it was. He's going to call you out, and you're going to fix those mistakes. You know, you're not going to just sit there and every week do the same thing over and over, continue to make these mistakes. So I think getting publicly called out like that in front of, you know, especially in a meeting room in front of everyone watching and let guys see you making those mistakes, you know, over and over and over, at some point you got to take a little pride in yourself and fix it. So, yeah, I would love to see him step up a little bit and you know, kind of get guys going, motivate guys, call guys out. I think it's a good philosophy, especially at this point. You know, I mean, this is 3 weeks in a row where this team's just had a complete meltdown, had an opportunity to win football games. So it's time to start calling guys out and holding guys a little bit more accountable.
And I got one last question, bro. What the hell is going on with JOK? I thought Notre Dame was a smart school.
I don't know, man. I don't know. That's a good question.
I'm lost. I'm like, dude, do you know the basics here?
I do think he's better with a better middle linebacker next to him.
Well, I think you're absolutely right.
Well, like we've seen really bad JOK the last couple of weeks without Anthony Walker next to him. I think that makes a huge difference.
Especially for a young linebacker. I mean, he's still young. It's still early. I'm not ready to cut bait on this guy and just say he's done.
Look.
But I want to bring one point up and get your thoughts on this, Tim, because this shows how fickle the league is. The kicker missed two not easy kicks that were within his range. It didn't go our way, whatever. If he doesn't hit the 58-yarder at Carolina,
okay. I thought about that
Matt
yesterday.
Rule and Baker are 2-3.
Yeah.
And Kevin Stefanski and the Browns are 1-4.
And Matt Rule still has a job today.
And Matt Rule is still coaching.
Well, and Kevin's hanging from a thread.
And then Kevin's seat is red hot.
Kevin is hanging from a thread right now because
I don't know that he is.
Let me tell you here. The one common denominator I hear all the time. People are getting wise to this. You're not fooling us anymore. Your strategies down. We're gonna go with a fourth and a few. On our 30-something.
We haven't even talked about that yet.
Tim, oh, my God.
Tim, let's bring up the issue of fourth down. Now, I hear this, and I believe it because every commentator tells me, and Jason tells me, every book in the world tells you go for it on 4th and 1. I know this is anecdotal. These are the ones that we remember, the ones that blow up. Last week, we saw John Harbaugh and the Ravens go for it instead of taking points that would have given them the lead.
Right.
They lost the game. Last night, he was in the exact same situation, and I think the analytics people were telling him, go for it. And I think he said, you know what, I'm the coach. We're going to kick. They took the points. Cincinnati, in that same situation, was down close. They said, we're not going to kick the field goal that would give us the lead. We're going to go for the touchdown. They missed. They lost the game. The Browns going for it in minus territory.
Yes.
Where was that? The 31-yard line?
30-some-odd yard line.
31-yard line. And I know it was the third quarter and you've got plenty of time to make up for it, but they gave the Chargers, who were going through them like a hot knife through butter, a short field. Now, the defense stood up and held them to a field goal, but they lost by 2. The Ivy League has hijacked our game. They've hijacked our game. We've got a bunch of nerd pencil pushers that don't understand flow and feel because they've never played it at this level, and they're crunching numbers with their little calculators, and I'm done with analytics to that point. I'm sure they're helpful in a lot of areas, but this fourth down nonsense, and really, honestly, Cincinnati, San Diego, and Cleveland, they're the 3 poster childs in my – I know everybody's going for it more. I watch these guys, I feel like I'm playing Madden.
Oh, it's Madden.
It's Tim.
For sure.
The Brandon Staley one yesterday was the most baffling one I've ever. I cannot understand that for the.
That was perplexing. But Kevin Stefanski's was too. And Tim, if any point, and you played for some knucklehead head coaches, but at any point in your tenure, if they would have sent you out to go for it on 4th and 1 in minus territory, you would have looked at the coach and said, what? We're not going for it.
Absolutely. I think, you sit and watch these games and you're just like, your mind is blown. Like, what in the hell are these coaches thinking, man? Especially, the Browns one was obviously awful. The defense did save them and held them to 3. But, when the Chargers go for it on that 4th and 3 right there, and all the Browns need is a field goal. That's almost like, that's disrespectful to the Browns. We're saying, like,
and you know what? We proved them right. So we let the little nerd off the hook.
For sure. That's like saying, we know that you guys are going to mess this up, so we're just going to go for it. Even if we don't get it, we're going to stop it. You guys will do something to lose the game. And the Browns did it. They let them off the hook. So the analytics are really frustrating to me, Jay. Just like you said, they don't take into account for, momentum in a game, flow of the game.
Nope.
You have to feel those things as a head coach, and you got to say, I don't give a damn what the analytics say. I'm punting the football, or I'm taking these easy 3 points.
I think Harbaugh did that last night. I do.
Yeah, for sure. Back in the day, when you got down there was really no decision to make. Every now and then you go for it on a 4th down, but normally you're taking
points.
You're putting all these games in the NFL come down to really 3 points or less. Almost,
you're right.
Well, Tim, I'm gonna go further on you. Hell, do you look at the spread? The spread, Vegas said it was only a 2-point game.
And they got it right. Vegas always gets it right.
The 3 could be crucial.
Vegas always gets it right. Yeah, we're going to leave 3 on the table here.
Here's what I'll say. I'm in the minority again because I didn't have a problem with the Chargers going for it because they put the ball in the hand of their franchise. They gave it to Justin Herbert, and if he converts that, you win the game. The Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs had Chad freaking Henne on the field and went for it on 4th down against the Browns. They converted.
Well, they had
won
to,
the game.
but they had to. Yeah, in that situation, it was. And by the way, it was like 4th and 16.
It was 4th and 3.
Jason, if you
there was a long 4th that they didn't had to go.
At the end of the game, they didn't have to go.
No, not the one at the end of the game.
That's the one I'm talking about.
Okay,
at the end of the game,
enough hands in Vegas, you're gonna win. All right. Here, let me just say this.
Justin Herbert's their franchise. They told him go win the game, and he didn't in that moment.
Well,
but I have no problem with putting it in
Lamar Jackson is the Ravens franchise,
and
he didn't do it. And Joe Burrow is the Bengals franchise,
and there have been times when they've done it.
And so what I'm saying is, like, I'd like to talk to DePodesta. I'd like to talk to one of these geniuses, because here's what they're not taking into account. They're using raw data. But what doesn't factor into the data is the situation in the game. That's what data can't get its hands around. What's the league average on 4th and 1? Well, there's all kinds of different 4th and 1s. There's 4th and 1 at your own 29. There's 4th and 1 on the 1-yard line. There's 4th and 1 in the first quarter. There's 4th and 1 with 2 minutes to go and no timeouts. So the situation is what analytics is washing out of this whole process.
The other thing it doesn't take into account is this. The KYP.
Who's on your team?
Right.
Do you have enough dogs?
Do you have enough dogs to say, this dude ain't going to be stopped? Right? You can't get that off of paper. You can only get it by the feel of the game. And go down in the 4th quarter, Kevin, put your sheet down. I'm tired of your sheet.
I'm sick of the sheet.
Put your sheet down. What do your eyes tell you? What does your knowledge tell you?
I just think we've gone too far with analytics.
And I agree because, like, we were talking in Atlanta, kick the field goal. I was all for it.
Kick the field goal.
4th and 3 from the 4, take the points. First opening drive, so I'm with you there.
Because it's demoralizing when you march all the way down the field and you come up with this.
Nothing.
So, Tim, let me ask you this. There has to be somebody on the sideline that has to be able to go to him and be in his ear. You're like, what are you doing?
No,
that's organizational.
Now, who is that?
The head coach.
That's organizational.
I want Bill Belichick makes those decisions for New England. Nobody's telling Bill, Bill, you need to go for it. You know what Bill would say to that? And Bill uses analytics too, by the way, and he was on the front edge of analytics. But I also think what the league is figuring out is there's got to be a balance. It can't all be on that piece of paper.
Nope.
There's got to be, and I think last night John Harbaugh said, my gut tells me I'm taking these points because we're going to need them. And he took them. They did need them, and they're in first place today. Yeah. They're in first place.
Tim, who's on the sideline? Who's there? Because I saw Van Pelt sitting down with you. The other thing I say before I go to that, Jacoby sitting over there by himself. He ain't got nobody in his ear. Van Pelt sat next to him one time. But, I mean, there's no other veteran quarterback down here. You know, because sometimes somebody has to sit down and say, hey, are you seeing this? I don't see that. He's like on an island by himself.
Well, what's Josh Dobbs going to tell him?
Nothing.
Tim, this is frustrating, bro. You can tell we're at the end of it, man.
Yeah, you know, I think all Browns fans are for sure. You know, I know we are as former players watching. It's just happened for so many years now. It's like, how much can you take of this as a Browns fan, man? Like, we find unbelievable ways to lose football games, and it's just so frustrating. I mean, this is a good football team. Let's start there. This is a good football team that should. You know, they should have won at least 2 of these games that they've lost. At least 2 of them.
They'd be 4-1.
You know, so
they'd be 4-1 easily.
Absolutely, they could be 4-1. They have to find a way to finish these games, man, because you got some of the best players in the National Football League on your team. You got Pro Bowlers across that offensive line. You got the best running back in the NFL. You got a stud receiver in Amari Cooper. Jacoby Brissett is playing winning football. You should be winning these games. And they're finding a way to lose them, man, and that's the most frustrating part. It's not like we're not capable of beating these teams. We're out there with not only an opportunity to win the game, they should have won these games. And they're finding ways to give it away, and that's certainly most frustrating part about it.
Tim, is that culture? Is that organizational?
Yeah, you know, Jay, I think at this point you'd have to say, you know, it's been going on for the last 20-some years, you know, with this football team. And, you know, you almost, as a Browns fan and as a former player, you almost just sit back and you're waiting on it at this point. Like, what are we going to do to screw this up? You know, we've played a great game, but I just don't feel comfortable about it pulling this game out in the end, and that's tough, man. You want to feel confidence in the team. You want to trust that these players are going to make you know, the right decisions and make the right plays in crucial times. But in the back of your mind, you're just waiting on it. Like, here we go. What are we going to do to find a way to lose it?
And you know, Saturday, as we're looking at the schedule, we're thinking, man, if you can find a way to steal the game against the Chargers. You've got the Patriots in here. We can get fat on the Patriots. Well, what did the Patriots do? The Patriots went out and apparently found their next Tom Brady, and they held the #1 scoring offense to 0 points. And so I have zero faith. And based on what Belichick did to Stefanski last year, I have zero faith that they can win this game.
Tim, I think we asked what the question is and what the problem is. Man, if you look across the annals of time, if you look across to the great leaders, Alexander the Great, Hannibal, like this is crazy. Julius Caesar. These people were able to inspire and evoke emotion in people. To me.
Can we put Terry Francona in there?
Yes, we put Tito in there. Okay. I tell people, if Tito coached his team, we'd be all right, right?
We'd be 5-0.
We'd be good. He don't even got to know the X's and O's. Because you know what Tito understands? He understands how to motivate human beings and men. Here's the problem. When you got somebody that got $100 million and they rich and they family going to be rich forever, how do you motivate that person?
Guardians don't have any of those guys.
There you go.
That's it.
They keep the payroll low. You ain't got no money. They always chasing that carrot. But I'll tell you this, like, you know, those generals got people to get out of trenches. Those people, they done seen their comrades die. They see their family in years, and they somewhere traveling across some vast desert trying to go fight another battle. And you got deserters left and right. The great leaders inspired them and gave them a reason to say, you know what? I'm going to fight as hard as I can, even though I might not even make it out of here. When I look at this team and I look at the game of football in general, the game of football is about emotion, it's about inspiration, and it's about going out there leaving everything on the line. When I see the defensive coordinator, he sits up there like he thinks it's a joke or something. Like, he ain't worried about nothing. Kevin Stefanski comes off, I ain't worried about nothing. Andrew Berry, you know what? We ain't got D tackles and linebackers. I ain't worried about anything. And nobody has any sort of a urgency about themselves that says, guys, this is not guaranteed. You're not guaranteed to be here. And unless you start making examples out of people like Bill Belichick does regularly, when your boys, when you said that was my man right here, we rode bikes together and he's sitting on and he out on the waiver wire, that gets attention quickly.
So sure. I'll say this, and Tim, you could probably attest to this. You know, the best coaches come in sometime, and, you know, when they want to get their point across, you know what they do? They go in the locker room after a bad loss, they cut somebody's head off right in front of the whole crew. This man, he would play. What? He out. What you mean he out?
Right there in the locker. Have you ever seen that?
I'm out. Yes.
You have?
Like, guess what everybody else start doing? Start ducking. Like hold on. Don't come get me.
Tell me the reason that hit's so different because he's a mayor. I can imagine going in on Monday. Hey, them reports better be done.
Yeah. Out. You're out.
Finance guy
Out. Tim, what you couldn't see because he wasn't on camera for it was he actually made the motion. Boom. Your head's off. You're out.
But that's the Tim's point though, because you have
accountability.
Accountability. So I don't care if you're making $1 million, $2 million, $5 million. If you screw it up, you got to be held accountable in front of everybody.
Okay, let me ask all of you guys this. Tim, I'll let you start because you know the dynamics of the owner, general manager, coach, player. I had a conversation Saturday at the Guardians game with a very successful businessman who has season tickets to all three, knows the intimate workings of the organizations on all levels. Guardians, Cavs, Browns, knows what's going on. Also has piloted countless businesses from the bottom to the top. It's primarily how he's made his money. He buys bad businesses that have bad infrastructures. He takes them over, he reworks it, and then sells it at a huge profit. I asked him, what are we seeing with the Browns? Even though we were watching the Guardians game, I said, what is going on there? And he's a no-nonsense CEO type guy. And this is what he said. And this was before yesterday's game. He said, we've lost games in every way imaginable. Kickers, quarterbacks, wide receivers, coaches, all the defense. All of those people answer to one person. And there's only one person that everybody in the organization answers to. And that's Jimmy Haslam. And he really didn't sugarcoat it. He just said, the Browns are a mess from top to bottom. And it starts at the very top and works its way down. When you look at the Guardians, no, they don't have a ring on their finger. But you know the stat. They've won more games in the American League over the last 10 years with a smaller payroll than everybody except perhaps the Rays, who have had similar success. So how are they doing it? Well, they're doing it because and everybody wants to kill the owner, but the owner has put together the envy of all other 29 teams, the front office. And then they get the right people in the right positions. Chris Antonetti, Tito. They've got their player development people. They've got winners at all of those spots. There's some people in the Browns organization, I'm just going to say it, it's probably wildly unpopular over there. But there's some people in really powerful positions, and you know who I'm talking about, Jason.
Have no business.
That have no business being a part of this organization. None. And if they were fired today, which they won't be because they're family, they wouldn't be getting a call from any of the other 31 teams to come fix our mess. So for me, after watching it again on Sunday and having this conversation with someone who really knows, just goes to the top.
That's what we were talking about with Matt Colleague when Matt was in the other day.
Absolutely.
It's exactly what we were talking about.
Exactly what we were saying. And am I wrong about what I'm saying here?
You are 1,000,000% right. And Tim, I don't want to hijack this from you, but real quick, I got to piggyback off what you just said. I covered the NBA for 10 years. I had a very high-profile NBA executive who's run teams before called me, hated the Watson move. Let's put that out there. Hated the Deshaun Watson signing, and said, this is what happens when you have an organization with no core values, no structure, no foundation. He said, go look at your baseball team in that town and look what they do with what they have. They are the envy of everyone in sports. And look at your football team that has unlimited resources that can't get out of their own way. It's the ownership. It's the culture of the ownership. And this guy said, from what I could see of Kevin, he said, I actually really like Kevin, think he could be really good. I don't know if he stands a chance in that organization with that ownership group.
I think he is floundering not because of himself. I think it's because the infrastructure around him.
100%. And that's why I keep, I'm not going to drop the hammer on Kevin until he at least gets a quarterback.
I do think that part of it we got right. But if you hire enough of them, you're going to stumble into one eventually.
Well, that's exactly, yeah.
And they did.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, when you go up from Kevin, you look around and you're like, well, we're stuck with what we have. God. And we're stuck.
And go look, listen, I didn't mention this on the final take that I was going to do the one day. Go back and look at that Jets game. Go back and watch a television broadcast when the Jets recovered the fumble. Kevin Stefanski standing on the sidelines. He's surrounded by children children on the sidelines, the children of the family of ownership, is surrounding the head coach in the middle of the game. Where else does that happen? Where else does that happen? It is. It was the family. It was Haslam family kids surrounding Kevin.
Do we have video evidence of this? Or
no, it was on the broadcast. It was on the television broadcast because that's what was sent to me.
There's somebody tweeted.
Can we show that?
Yeah, I mean, it was
CBS footage.
See if you can send that to Mike and we can show a picture of that.
It's technically in that gray area that we don't.
It's not video.
Sit in.
It's a still.
It's a still from the game.
So that should be good.
So go ahead, Tim. Question is, what does ownership have to do with this? There you go.
Yeah, you know, you were part of this. Not with this group.
You know what? Should we show kids' faces? I guess they were already on the.
No, actually, no. You're right. You're
That's
right.
a good one.
I mean, they were on the broadcast.
Yeah. They were on the broadcast. But my point, listen.
No, you're right.
You can go find it for yourself. My point is, where else in the NFL are kids hanging out on the sideline?
How close to Stefanski were they?
Vita Brad.
Right next to Kevin Stefanski.
Yeah,
At what point in the game?
After the Jets recover the onside kick.
Yeah, they got that onside
kick. At the end of the game. At the end of the game.
So while that's going on, Kevin Stefanski
is trying to coach surrounded by kids.
That's a fact. You can go back and see it.
You know what? That's all the evidence we need.
Tim, have you ever
It should never happen.
Tim, have you ever heard or seen anything like that?
I've never heard or seen anything like that. I didn't even see that during the game, to be honest with you. I think I was too busy throwing my remote control across the room to look at the screen.
I think that's why I missed it too.
Exactly. I'm like, here we go again. How the hell are we going to lose this game to the Jets right now, man? So I didn't notice that during the broadcast, but no, I've certainly never seen that before.
Yeah.
And how troubling is that? I mean, can this organization ever win with this family owning the team?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we're so close. I mean, it's hard to say we can't win because we should be winning these games. And, it's a matter of just, guys finding a way to finish games. They put together one hell of a roster. I mean, this is a good football team, and they're getting way more out of their backup quarterback than I think any of us thought they were going to get. Jacoby Brissett's playing good football until the last 3 minutes of the game, and a lot of these times he shouldn't even be in those situations to have to try to win the game. So
right.
I think they're right on the verge of being a good football team and going in the right direction. But, Jay, like we said earlier, is it a culture thing? Because, the last 20 years, it's almost like the Browns have been cursed in trying to win these games, and it just continues year after year after year. And I don't know what the answer is to get over that hump, to start winning these type of games, these close games. But we've found ways over the last 20 years to lose these games that you couldn't even imagine. It's so frustrating to watch.
Yeah, and even when Staley says, I think I'm going to go for it here and doesn't get it,
right?
You're literally thinking this is over. You get 15 yards and it's a kicker. It's a chip shot for our kicker. And we can't get any extra yards, and it ends up being now in defense of our kicker. Kicks of plus 50 yards. There's a reason that those are the lowest percentage in terms of kicks made in the league. It's difficult, and it's not a matter of whether or not he has the leg. It's just you also have to put the kick in the right spot. And he didn't do it. McNuggets has something for you before we let you go, Tim.
Yeah, Tim, today's the first day Deshaun Watson can return to the Browns facility. He can't practice, but he can lift with the team. He can participate in team meetings. So you've been in those situations, in those meetings. How quickly do you think he'll get reacclimated within this Browns system? So when he can return to the field, hopefully he'll be as unrusty, non-rusty. I'm not sure what as least rusty as possible.
Well, I think mentally, he can be up to full speed. I think that, being in the meetings, I think he's obviously been working on his own, probably going out and having wide receivers and calling plays and just getting used to, getting the terminology out to guys and, going through his reads, things like that. But, you can't replace that game speed, especially when he comes back at that point in the season. It's going to be, guys are going to be fighting for playoff positions and things like that. The speed of the game is going to be flying. He's going to be rusty. I mean, let's be honest. The guy hadn't played a lot of football in the last 2 years. He hadn't played at all in the last 2 years. So, I mean, to think he could just come out there and look like the Deshaun Watson of old right off the bat, I think is unrealistic. It's going to be a process, but I think mentally he can be there. I think it's just getting up to the game speed and getting used to getting hit again and making those quick decisions and getting the ball out of his hand. But, I think, we hopefully can get there as quickly as possible. I think it's going to take at least a few games and, maybe into next season before we see the real Deshaun Watson.
All right, Tim, before we let you go, last thing, 20 seconds. What's their record if Deshaun Watson has played all 5 games so far?
I think we've probably got one loss right now. I think, in these situations where, especially yesterday, I don't think Deshaun Watson tries to make that throw that Jacoby tried to make. I think Deshaun Watson trusts his legs to run for that first down and at least know that all you need is a field goal right here. You got the game in your back pocket.
Right.
The only thing you can't do is turn the football over and you win the game. So
Jacoby should have trusted his legs. Jacoby probably could have run that ball into the end zone.
He would have been very close. He would have been very close. And Jacoby, he made some good runs during that game. So he made some great runs. So, in that situation, if the guy's not just standing in the end zone wide open and the defensive back fell down, you run that ball or you throw it over his head and you win the game on a field goal. So, that was, I'm sure he's having a tough day today watching that film and, just trying to, relive that decision, and all he had to do was just tuck it and run to the sideline, man. And he's, at worst, getting the first down, if not turning the corner and scoring.
Tim, thanks as always, man. Great stuff. We'll see you next week.
Appreciate you, Tim.
All right, appreciate you guys. See you next week.
Tim.
When I was listening to Tim at one point, he said, man, this just keeps going on. How do you put up with it? He's got to be, he regretted being drafted by the Browns the day he was drafted by the Browns. And now all these years later, he still regrets being drafted by the Browns because he can't unwash himself of his fandom of this team. Yeah, despite everything that happened to him here, he still loves this football team, watches every snap like he's out there. McNuggets.
Yeah, so we mentioned this is Deshaun Watson's first day back in the facility. All the reports have come out saying he's been training, he's been working out with his trainer, throwing on the side. Changed his diet up. He started eating a lot more Built Bars, actually, which is why when he comes back, he's going to be in arguably the greatest shape we've ever seen.
I was following
Deshaun
him for a
Watson.
second.
You son of a...
I haven't talked to him because I don't have his number. We can't get him on the show. But I do have sources that tell me if they had talked to Deshaun Watson, he would have told them his favorite flavor is the cookie dough chunk puffs because of the 160 calories and 15 grams of protein. Despite the $230 million guaranteed he got, he's still using code LOCKDOWN15 for 15% off at Built.com. If you guys are just tuning in, we do post-game shows after every Browns game. We do post-game shows after every Guardians game.
All 5 of the games have been decided during the 2-minute warning.
Crazy. The 2 Guardians games have been wild.
On
that. G. Bush and Earl held it down. Bo will be back. Cleveland Clothing Company. They can buy T-shirts. If you missed earlier in the show, we had some heated exchanges between Brad and Jason on who to blame, whether or not to run. Go back. You can watch that on VOD. And I got one question for you guys. Now I'm going to hand it back. But we've talked about Cade York a little bit. When you draft a kicker in the 4th round, those are the kicks you draft him to make. And I know he's young. And, Jay, I want to open this up with you because you are the Cade York defender.
I was the big supporter of that decision, and I still am,
right there with you. I'm right there with you.
Good.
I'm
I'm
not
glad to
saying
hear
it's the
that.
wrong decision,
Right.
but has your unanimous belief in Cade York diminished at all since yesterday?
No, not at all. He made a 58-yarder in week 1. A 58-yarder in week 1.
That would have been good for about 65.
It would have been good for 65.
He hit the net.
He hit the net.
58.
So, should have he hit the 44-yarder yesterday? Yeah, he should have at least hit the net on that. He didn't even get it to get. I mean, it was awful, and that didn't help him with the 54 or 53-yarder, whatever it officially was listed at the end of the game. Which, by the way, and this doesn't help, it makes it worse actually. If they would have got another 5 yards, that ball would have been good. But you can't do that. He's 8 of 10. He made his first 8 field goals. I went back and looked yesterday because I remember Justin Tucker not being Justin Tucker that we see today, that doesn't just make every field goal. He literally has made every second half and overtime field goal 72 in a row.
It's the most absurd stat I've ever seen.
And he doesn't just make them, he puts them directly over the crossbar. I mean, if the uprights were this wide, he would make every one of his kicks.
There was a stat yesterday. If the uprights were a half yard apart, he would have made it.
It's unreal.
Foot and a half, dead center.
And I loved it. They were talking about it. Collinsworth and the crew were talking about it. He actually, every kick he takes during the week, his entire unit, snapper, holder, everything, they look at it like it's a game-winning kick. And the reason you do that is because you have to practice yourself being in that situation. Too many times I see kickers who have great jobs kind of slack off in practice. They're throwing the ball into the dirt, get it to come back and catching it with one hand.
Are we doing
They're
that?
Spinning it on their finger.
What are they doing that
I don't know. I don't know. But this guy's so good. When he hit this one, he literally just looks at his fans and he's like, thank you. Thank you. The guy is now. Justin Tucker has ruined it for every other kicker that will ever put his foot to a football, because there is not now, there has never been before him, and I'm going to go out on the line and say there will never be after him a kicker that is that good.
But I will also add to that, the Ravens invest more time, energy, and money into the kicking game than any other team in the league.
They do.
I talked to Phil Dawson about this, and the fact that they have like a kicking coach on staff specifically. It's not just a special teams coach who goes, hey, go make
It's like
kick.
a swing coach in golf.
Absolutely.
It's working specifically on his mechanics and the kick.
And I don't understand why more NFL teams aren't doing this when we talk every week about the number of games that come down to 3 points or less.
And to that point, and this is the reason I started this conversation the way I did, and this is why it ultimately leads me to my answer. Mr. Money, the guy who makes about 95% of his field goals, regardless of how far they're from, missed 18 field goals his first 4 years in the NFL. 18. That's more than 4 misses a year.
That would get him cut from 3/4 of the teams in the league.
He wouldn't make it today. He wouldn't. I mean, if he started that way today, that's why, and Jason, I'll let you give the stat because I was so glad that you said it because I was thinking the exact same thing you were. The Browns have cut bait on kickers in the past. 3 of them that are still kicking in the league for other teams. So perhaps the answer was here, but the pressure that this fan base puts on organizations.
Not just here, it's
not
everywhere.
just here, it is everywhere, and it's because of Justin Tucker. We watched Justin Tucker make every kick. Bullis sat there and said, kicker should never miss. Never, ever, ever,
Well,
ever.
That's outrageous.
Ever. Of course it's outrageous. Who grades at 100%? Justin Tucker.
Yeah.
He's made it so difficult for every other kicker. Our kicker's going to be fine. These are growing pains that every young kicker in the league deals with. Yeah, he kicked at LSU. Yeah, he won a national championship. Yes, he hit big kicks, but it's different. This is a business. He's not going to class on Monday. This is a business. And he's learning how to handle the pressure and the wins at First Energy. He's going to be fine. My hope is he's still kicking for this team 10 years from now. But you better not get antsy and cut him, because if you do, we're going to watch him for 10 years make big kicks for some other team.
And I don't think that they would do that. I think he's probably feeling a crisis of confidence for the first time in his life.
I agree with that.
He's probably never missed multiple kicks in a game ever.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's figuring out adversity and dealing with adversity. And I think the thing that I wrote this morning, Daniel Carlson was drafted by the Vikings, and they traded 2 picks to move up into the 5th round to take him. Kicker out of Auburn, SEC school, had a very successul career there.
Good pedigree.
Mike Zimmer's got a short fuse, though, and Carlson missed 3 kicks in one game. Cost the Vikings a win. Where'd Kevin Stefanski and Mike Prefer come? Minnesota. They came from Minnesota, both of them. They were there when this happened. Zimmer snapped, cut his kicker the next day. Daniel Carlson's now one of the best kickers in the league for the Las Vegas Raiders. You've got to be patient with a rookie, including rookie kickers. We've said it from when he made the Carolina kick. You said he's going to miss kicks this year.
That will cost the
That
games.
will cost the team games.
Because he's a kicker, that's what they do.
First of all, I don't think we should be talking about cutting a kicker. I think it's a young guy.
But it's happened in the NFL before after games like that.
So have 1,000 other things, right? So we sit here and we have a guy that is learning on the job. The one thing I worry about is when I look for the other things. I see his face.
Sure.
His face has a look on it that is like.
It has.
And yes.
After that.
When
he came out for the long one, I said I don't like his look.
And so when I said this, I said that's why I was talking about those few little yards to the end. Make it easier on him. It don't have to be a 54-yarder. It doesn't have to be a 54-yarder.
Yeah.
Make it a 49.
Get a first down.
Yeah. Just get a little bit more.
Well, they did. They got it from the 45 to the 35.
Yeah.
So they did get it closer. And, yeah, of course, you want to get an extra 4 or 5 yards.
Well,
had they had one more timeout, they probably could.
Well, we wasted a couple plays, right? We got nothing out of the plays.
Yep.
And so you did him a disservice. So you put him at a 54-yarder to win it, right?
He's played 5 NFL games in his life. And this nonsense that, and I heard it yesterday. I heard
that were good of themselves. They don't sell it when they
all these about an hour, 8 minutes on top.
You listen. when you as a fan, look across the field, and you say, what back. So the defense can stop. We can't cover for the Stones. We can't do simple. We can't give somebody make mistakes. Report on the state of American each ready party police getting that man would give me 50. So there's coaches. Take real quick. We see them. We have things that where experts are break. See one quick would be longer than that. You We're gonna give us a sec. Take a quick break. We can we
No, we went back.
Yeah, there's a little one.
30 seconds.
Okay.
As soon as I man, this is great. Lost. Oh, that's people.
Yeah.
About it.